So today, we are celebrating our 5th anniversary, and I first want to tell you, I want to start by saying what it's not the 5th anniversary of, right? It's certainly not the 5th anniversary of the Occupy movement, which started in September of 2011. It's not the 5th anniversary of Occupy Madison, which started in just a few weeks after the Occupy movement started in Zuccotti Park, and I think it was early October we started organizing here. It's not the start of Occupy Madison Incorporated, the nonprofit that we founded in order to build this place back in, I think it was December of 2012. This is all about Occupy Madison Village. We are celebrating the 5th anniversary of this village from the time that Russell Albers cut the ribbon in November of 2014. And we are just really, really happy to be doing this. And even if no one had showed up at all, we probably would have wanted to have a 5th anniversary party because we've just done so much work. We've had so many crazy things have happened in that 5-year period. It's been an incredible roller coaster ride. We've learned a lot about what it takes to pull something like this off. We've learned a lot about each other. We've done a whole bunch of things wrong, which taught us what not to do in the future, and what will be invaluable should other cities and communities attempt to do what we have done in putting a tiny house village for formerly homeless people in a residential neighborhood. We have a lot of wisdom that we've accumulated. I think all of us, without any kind of formal training or degrees, have really become experts on this sort of thing. And I'm really proud of everybody who's associated with the group and all the people in the community that have helped us. I want to just say a few statements about the residents here. We have the capacity on this property. The city said we can have up to 9 residents, and we have had up to 7. Right now we have 4. And one of the things I find fascinating is that of the 4 residents we have, 3 of them are from the earliest days of the Occupy encampment. Chris Derrick, who lives in the greenhouse, which is the very first house that we built back in 2013. He has been with us since the days of the parking lot on Washington. He has an amazing aesthetic sense, and when we're doing tiny house tours later today, I encourage everyone to take a look, not just at his house, but even what he's done around it. It's kind of hard in the winter to see, but the gardening and the landscaping that he's done. He's just been a remarkable asset. Just across the way, we have Sophia, who has also been with us since those early days. And again, when later on today, when we're doing the tiny house tours, I want you to compare what Chris has done, which is kind of an almost Japanese minimalism, where in the way he's used the space, and compare that to how Sophia has used the space, which is more like a curio shop, filled with like knickknacks and bric-a-brac and tapestries and little objects. It's just, hers is like the ultimate cozy, house, whereas Chris maximizes the feeling of space in that tiny space. And I just think it's interesting that 2 such contrasting ideas both work really well, and I think you'll be really impressed with what you see. Gene is the outlier in the 4 residents, and that he came along later. It was actually when we were on this property constructing the infrastructure, redoing this building and making the infrastructure complete all around us. Gene came along to volunteer, and it wasn't too long before we were all kind of looking at each other going, yeah, this guy will fit in. And so he became one of our residents, and it's been fantastic. He's a great asset to the community. And finally, I wanted to talk about Russ. He, as I mentioned when I started off, Russ is the guy who cut the ribbon on our opening day in November of 2014, and I think that's really fitting because Russ, I think, believes in this project more strongly than anyone else in the group. There was one time when we were having a discussion, we were kind of in a dark period and weren't really sure what was going to happen, and we were having a discussion about, well, maybe, this isn't going to work. Maybe we should just fold it up, right? Just close up shop, donate the stuff to other nonprofits, and just call it a day, because we were kind of all tapped out emotionally and really didn't know what to do next. And Russ said, we're not going to do that. And we looked at him, and he goes, I won't let you. And we haven't done it. We've continued to move forward. New members have come in, like Leslie Walsh, Barb, who came in at about the same time, who can't be here today, but kind of bringing in new, it's one thing to start out a new project when it's novel and it's exciting and it's got lots of media attention and everybody's talking about it. But then when the cameras are gone and the public is on to other things and you're just stuck dealing with the very difficult, unglamorous work of making it succeed, you do get some attrition because it's just not as fun as when it's when it's more like a media event. But during those periods where we really needed, where we were kind of at a sticking point, we did have wonderful people like Leslie and Barb come in and inject some new energy, and I think it was really a turning point for us, and our last year or so has been much the better for it. I don't have anything else to say other than I'm just so glad that this day was here. I guess I do have one more thing to say, and that is at a very early meeting, at a neighborhood association meeting, somebody asked, "Well, what about six?" This is back in 2014, before we had even put anybody in here. Somebody at the neighborhood association meeting said, "Well, what about 6 months from now when you've got 14 people living in there?" And I said, "Oh, I don't think we'll have more than 6 people in the first 3 or 4 years because this is going to take a while to figure out." And I was chuckled at. But I was right. This takes a long time. It is not a simple, straightforward manner. You don't just fill houses full of people. This is a community where people have to live together. So we have to have an understanding of common values. I mean, it's not that we all have to be the same politically or have the same religion, but we have to have a culture of mutual respect, and that takes time to foster. I think we've largely succeeded at that. And as we bring in each new person, we want to make sure that culture is maintained and, in fact, strengthened. So I'm looking forward to that, however long it takes. With that, I would like to introduce someone else who has been a big supporter, very helpful, always a good friend to Occupy Madison Village, Heidi Wegleitner.
Thanks, Luca. Just a few minutes ago, we were talking about the grand opening, the ribbon cutting 5 years ago, and my son Lincoln was there, and he was just 1, and I pushed him in a stroller, and I think I had a few comments and was holding him on my hip. Yeah, but Lincoln has been growing up just like the village has been growing up, and which is what Diane said. So anyway, it's really an honor. Lincoln and I live just 3 blocks away at 1941 East Dayton, and I'm so proud to be a neighbor of Occupy Madison Village, and the village has been a wonderful neighbor to us in the Emerson neighborhood. And it's been fun. We've had some Halloweens, like when Lincoln was dressed up as a pizza delivery person and stopped by the village and offered some pizza, got some candy. That was really fun. And I've traveled across the country as a county supervisor and as actually 2 blocks, he said, housing rights advocate, and have been able to brag about my neighbors at Occupy Madison Village. And, I'd be there listening to somebody talk about, tiny house villages. And I could say, you know what? I live in a residential neighborhood where we're one of the first, tiny house villages across the country. And certainly the first integrated into a residential neighborhood was built. And I'm just so proud of that. And I think it is truly unique. And Luca's right, you are experts. And this 5 years and even the months and years before that represents a tremendous amount of commitment and sometimes, really difficult work of community building and organizing and listening and understanding one another. And I haven't by any means, I've mostly been watching and supporting from the sidelines and in my neighborhood, but I'm really grateful for my neighbors and all of the volunteers and members of Occupy Madison for sticking with it and all that you contribute to this vision. Really, we're talking about an incredible amount of imagination that went into believing that this kind of thing could happen, and expertise that involved getting this development project through the city process, and Brenda being a developer involved in a development process. It's just an inspiration, and we're seeing how this inspiration is now being taken up and discussed as almost a mainstream homelessness solution strategy in government sectors, in cities across Wisconsin, with the new veterans community in Milwaukee, and across this country, and planted with this seed that started here in Madison. So it's just remarkable. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to represent village residents on the Dane County Board and continue to think about ways we can support Occupy Madison Village and this concept of truly working with people who are housing insecure and without housing to build inclusive communities, sustainable communities. So thank you so much, and I look forward to the village continuing to grow and thrive and inspire us and building more throughout Dane County.
So we do have a schedule of events today. I noticed that it's not posted anywhere, so I will get that posted up. There will be a presentation by Alan about kind of an overview of the organization and up to the point that we're at today. There will be panels in the afternoon dealing with, the first will be a residence panel, the second one will be a neighborhood panel, and the third will be a discussion of our phase 2 part of the project, which will be an addition of a kitchen, a meeting room, and laundry facilities for the residents. And I think our architect will be here for that, Ed. I think he will, Ed Kaharski. So we're going to get started to get set up for for Alan's 1 o'clock talk. And again, thanks everybody for being here. Oh, good.